I'm Jeff Jones, president of the Bertner House Restoration Society, and you're listening to the Allegheny Valley History Podcast.
What is history?
Local history seems to be a straightforward idea. It's the history of a small, well-defined area.
Public history practice is deeply rooted in the areas of historic preservation, archival science, museum curatorship, and other related fields.
Oral history is a good source of local history. Listening to the recollections of older people, looking at their photographs, and sharing their memories reveals a lot about the past.
What is history?
History is written by the winners.
The word history comes from the ancient Greek word histo, meaning know this.
What is history?
History is his story.
And it's also her story.
What does that tell us about history itself?
What is history?
It is an account of past events in sequence of time. History has come to mean many things.
The people, the places, and the events in all of our lives.
And through the haze of history, the humans of the future will know us by the choices that we are making together right now.
Welcome to the Allegheny Valley History Podcast, where we explore and showcase topics celebrating the cultural, industrial, and ethnic heritage of the Allegheny River Valley of Western Pennsylvania. This podcast also helps promote local history organizations and museums throughout the Allegheny region and Western Pennsylvania. The Allegheny Valley History Podcast is a production of the Social Voice Project, a member of the Local History Podcast Initiative. I'm your host for this episode, Dave Holowico. Today on the podcast, we are going to discuss the Bertner House. Joining me today is the president of the organization, Jeff Jones. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Okay, so Jeff, I'm not familiar with the Bertner House, as I'm sure a lot of people that are going to listen to this aren't either. Tell me what the Bertner House is.
Well, Dave, the Bertner House is a 198-year-old house in the northern eastern section of Allegheny County, right off of exit 15 or Route 28. The house was a meeting place for many important political events for the county and also for Western Pennsylvania, for the nation. The house served as a polling place for presidential elections. When Abraham Lincoln was elected president, that's where you would have went to vote for him, at the Bertner House.
Finally, it would seem that the basic arguments between Miss Carson and her critics transcend the specific pesticide issue, for they involve a conflict of attitude toward man's role in his environment and his attempts to control and manipulate nature for his own benefit.
The fulcrum over which the argument chiefly rests is that Miss Carson maintains that the balance of nature is a major force in the survival of man, whereas the modern chemist, the modern biologist, the modern scientist believes that man is steadily controlling nature, that he has already disrupted the balance of nature by his overburgeoning numbers, his cities and his airports and his roads and the way of his life.
Now, to these people, apparently the balance of nature was something that was repealed as soon as man came on the scene. Well, you might just as well assume that you could repeal the law of gravity.
I'm Jean Cecil at the Rachel Carson Homestead, and you are listening to the Allegheny Valley History Podcast. A lot of people are surprised to find out that it is here. We're on the National Registry of Historic Sites, and the claim to fame is that this place is the most significant in Rachel Carson's life. She was born here, upstairs in a bedroom, and she lived here through the time that she went to college. She attended the Pennsylvania College for Women, which is now Chatham, but she spent the most significant portion of her life here.
Welcome to the Allegheny Valley History Podcast, where we explore and showcase topics celebrating the cultural, industrial, and ethnic heritage of the Allegheny River Valley of Western Pennsylvania. This podcast also helps promote local history organizations and museums throughout the Allegheny region in Western Pennsylvania. The Allegheny History Podcast is a production of the Social Voice Project, and it is a member of the Local History Podcast Initiative. I'm your host for this episode, Kevin Farkas, executive producer of the Social Voice Project. Today we have a wonderful episode, right, Jenny? I'm sure it's going to be wonderful, right?
I hope so.
Okay.
Counting on you, Kevin.
Jean Cecil is here. She is the executive director of the Rachel Carson Homestead in Springdale. We are recording live here at the house, the actual house where Rachel Carson was born.
This is Wendy Sisson, owner and caretaker of the Rachel Carson Cottage in Southport, Maine, along with her son, Roger Christie. You are listening to the Allegheny Valley History Podcast.
Finally, it would seem that the basic arguments between Miss Carson and her critics transcend the specific pesticide issue, for they involve a conflict of attitude toward man's role in his environment and his attempts to control and manipulate nature for his own benefit.
Now, to these people, apparently the balance of nature was something that was repealed as soon as man came on the scene. Well, you might just as well assume that you could repeal the law of gravity.
This is Jean Cecil, and I'm talking with Wendy Sisson, who is in Harvard, Massachusetts. Wendy is married to Roger Christie, and together they own and operate Rachel Carson's cottage in Southport, Maine.
Yes.
Wendy, I contacted you through the Rachel Carson Council and was so happy to hear that you're willing to offer us a rental of the cottage for a week, and we've been raffling that off as a fundraiser.
Well, this has been a wonderful relationship because we've been doing it a few years now, and it really benefits both the homestead and the cottage in Southport, because in your raffle you are, number one, covering our expenses to rent the cottage, so it's helping with maintaining the cottage as it is and preserving it as Rachel Carson's cottage, as opposed to being another summer home. And then you're sending us the wonderful people who are interested in Rachel Carson and who are bringing a lot to the place when they visit. And it's a great pleasure for us to be sharing it with people who care about Rachel Carson's legacy, and it's been wonderful.
Thank you. It's been wonderful for us because, first of all, we get to promote the place that Rachel Carson loved, as an adult. I mean, we don't always get to choose where we live. And so, of course, she just loved Southport, Maine. The cottage is... Hello, this is Jean Cecil of the Rachel Carson Homestead in Springdale, and you are listening to the Allegheny Valley History Podcast.
So, you'd like to be actively engaged in making the world a better place?
Join an organization. Pick something you love and care about.
What drives me to volunteer is the smile on people's faces.
Volunteering can look like helping your own community.
What drives me to volunteer is that I believe it's my opportunity and everyone's opportunity to give back to the community in a way that allows them to make sure that they're part of the picture in helping that community thrive, grow, and move forward.
Becoming an environmentalist is a fun and fulfilling way to conserve the world around you. There are many ways in which the earth needs help, so you can always find ways to contribute that suit your skills and passions. Join an organization.
This is Linda Askren, and I'm a volunteer at the Rachel Carson Homestead. I just felt like the homestead needed a little TLC and wanted to help with educating people about Rachel Carson and what she stood for and the work that she did.
This is Connie Russick, and I'm here at the Rachel Carson Homestead. I think that Rachel is just a wonderful treasure that we need to let more people know about. This woman went against all odds and became very famous. She's someone to look up to, and I think the town of Springdale and the communities around need to come to her aid and help keep this treasure.
Before she was famous, Rachel was born and spent her entire childhood right here where you are sitting today. She was born in this bedroom above us. She laid on this porch and would look down at the river through the trees and wonder, where did that water come from and where did it go? And did it eventually get to the ocean?
When we show people this house, it's wonderful to see the reaction they get when they look out the window that Rachel Carson looked out as a little child, and they can really sense what it was like for her to walk in the woods here. And so we have a great gem here, and we want to promote it.
She combined writing and science and activism, which is a very rare combination.
Was she a role model for you, daughter?
For sure, totally. Pretty much changed the way she looked at the world.
You can't find a better female role model. She transcends race, she transcends culture, she transcends nationality.
There are so many things about Rachel Carson that people do not know. She is a regional asset, and she needs to be promoted.
We talk about Rachel Carson in the past a lot of times because she is a historic figure, but her legacy is living on so strong in the world, and we are surprised by how many people from all over the world just show up at our driveway here because they have heard about Rachel Carson. They've learned about her in their school curriculums. They may be in the environmental field as a career, and they were inspired by Rachel's work.
So much fun. Welcome. I'm so happy to see you.
Today we're going to be featuring something very, very interesting and uncommon. My name is Matthew Cumberland with the Greene County Historical Society. We actually walked past these a few times, then found them kind of buried in the dirt. One of those graves is actually of great importance to Greene County. Did a little bit of excavating with my hands. We've been photographing them so we can record them properly, and now they're preserved for posterity. Greene County actually presents some things that are a bit unusual. What those things are these items which have not been seen really anywhere else outside of the county. And there are probably at least 10 to 20 reports just in Greene County alone. And these items, again, these are very, very rare, and you will not find these housed in any other collection in the state outside of Greene County, Pennsylvania.
Stop by anytime, see Matt, the director. He'll let you in, take a walk around, and we can do a personal tour, so good time.
And once again, I am Matthew Cumberland with the Greene County Historical Society. Why is this stuff so interesting?
All right, welcome to this very special episode of the Allegheny History Podcast. We are in Waynesburg, but we're down here to talk with Matt Cumberland, who is the new director of the Greene County Historical Society. And you are new, I mean, like beginning of the year, right?
Yeah, January 8th.
Yeah. You getting used to it?
Yeah, slowly but surely. We kind of hit the ground running when we started here, so.
Yeah. So you've been here since January. You walked into the place and you said, okay, I'm here. I'm going to make this place shine, right? Is that what you did?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
When I take ownership of something, I take ownership of it.
Do you have a background in this?
Actually, I do not. I actually come from a military and corrections background.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a switch, huh?
Yeah, quite a switch, actually. Quite a switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, infantry for several years, and then I was a CO at SCI Fayette outside of Brownsville and ran our local union. So, yeah, bit of a change of pace for me.
Wow. You know, I think that the possibilities there of someone who is coming in with fresh eyes, not the background. So you can look at things fresh here at this very, very old institution that you've taken the helm of. Now, this has been going on since 1925. Right?
Yes. We were founded in 1925.
Tell you what, I am blown away by the amount of stuff here, and certainly Matt's knowledge because he gave me a great tour. The amount of stuff here and the variety of stuff here is I've never seen in any other local historical museum. I'm looking at an old TV from 1948. I've never seen a TV from 1948. So here's what I'm looking at here. And just every room.
And we have the original plans that was made from.
Yes, the schematics, right?
Yes.
Now that's remarkable. And you do what a lot of museums do. You have these period rooms, right? You want to talk a little bit about the rooms that you have?
Well, I'll give it a little bit of a background of the history of the building so that kind of makes sense with what we do here. This was the Greene County Poor Farm, but when it was initially built, it was a farmhouse. The family lived here for about 4 years before they moved west in the county.
Hi, glad to be here to tell you a little bit about this fantastic museum.
The mission of the Allegheny-Kiski Valley Historical Society and Heritage Museum is to interpret, preserve, and celebrate the cultural, industrial, and ethnic heritage of the Allegheny and Kiskimenitis River valleys in southwestern Pennsylvania. You are listening to a production of the Social Voice Podcast Network.
You know, we need the smaller organizations to keep that history alive and going, and we need the community members
to continue to support that, or else years from now it's not going to exist.
Now, Jim, this is an amazing building. Everybody who walks in here says, whoa, look at this blue glass. So why don't we just start right there with this cobalt blue glass that's in the main room of the museum. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's where we're sitting right now. In this, we have the 20-foot high walls of blue cobalt mirror glass. And it's got the insignias from World War II on there.
Now, this is called the Grand Room?
We call it the ballroom. Okay. And it's has these 20-foot high ceilings. And the room is covered on all four walls with blue cobalt mirror glass.
And where did this come from?
This was contributed by Pittsburgh Plate Glass. They had a plant in Ford City that made architectural glass, and that's where all this was made. And it has World War II insignias on it. It has the American Legion emblem on it.
But this building dates prior to World War II, correct?
This building was built by the World War I veterans, 1931. After World War II, when the guys were coming back, they wanted to do something special. That's when the glass walls were installed in this room. They called it the Hall of Reflections at the time.
But is there some sort of symbolism in that, Hall of Reflections, like to reflect on the war experience or something like that?
I imagine that's what it would be.
Oh, it's interesting. Well, it's very stunning, and it's just a beautiful place. And, people do comment on it right away when they walk in here.
About 51 years ago, this was post-85. They could not get a liquor license here because we're too close to a church. So most of these World War I, World War II vets were going to Brackenridge to get their beer. So this lost popularity, and they decided to close it, and there was a historical society being formed in town by a newspaper. It was edited mostly by John Gibson, the newspaper reporter, and ended up the historical society was given the building. So we got this huge building, beautiful building, gratis.
Wow, just free.
Yeah.
Holy smoke.
Can't beat that.
Yeah.
We have to maintain it, though. We spent some money maintaining this.
And I know you did a recent renovation project here that was very significant. I'd like to talk about that in just a moment. But what condition was this building in when the Historical Society took it over?
Oh, it was in great condition.
Oh, was it good? Oh,
yeah.
Nice. Were there any major renovations that were done immediately to the building?
No, none that I know of.
Well, let's talk about what just happened recently with the renovations.
Well, there were wooden window frames. We have these 10 huge windows on this main level. And the window frames that were put in 1931, a couple of years ago, were getting kind of beat up. We were painting over things that needed to be replaced, 10 of them, $10,000 per window.
Wow.
And we were able to restore, make them look exactly like they did originally. This time, instead of being made out of wood, they're made out of Alcoa aluminum. They have PPG paint on them, PPG glass with PPG coating on them. So it's all local stuff. It was done by, a Pittsburgh company.
Talk a little bit about the community's involvement here with the museum.
Okay, we originally started out, 51 years ago as the Allegheny-Kiski Valley Historical Society. And it covered the areas from Apollo, include Vandergrift, Leechburg, Freeport, then down the Allegheny River, Springdale, Oakmont. And over the years, each one of these little towns wanted to make their own historical society. Apollo has a great historical society, so they're not involved with us so much anymore. They acknowledge that we're here, and that's about it. Vandergrift has a wonderful historical society. We helped them get started, actually.
But you are the sort of really the granddaddy historical society in the area, correct?
Right.
That's impressive.
Yeah.